So let's see the tracts of the spinal cord. So you know the tract, it is the collection of the nerve fibers that connects the two masses of the gray matter within the CNS. So that is called the tract. And this tract here you can see that may be ascending, means that carry impulses from organ to that the CNS, or descending that carry impulses from the cerebral cortex to that the organ. So that the two types of the tracts are present. Ascending, that is called the sensory tract, and the descending, that is called the motor tract. The tract that is also called, if the large bundle of the nerve fibers, it should be forming the tract. So that is called the fasciculi, the laminiski, the ribbon, or the funiculi. Then let's see that is the descending tract. So descending tract will conduct the impulses to that the spinal cord from the brain or the cerebral cortex. So here in this diagram, the red color you can see that is the descending tract. So first the tract is present, that is the corticospinal tract or the pyramidal tract, which is very much important. So here you can see that is the corticospinal tract. So the corticospinal tract, they are the two tracts, that is the anterior corticospinal tract, which lies in the anterior funiculi. Here you can see this one, and the lateral corticospinal tract, that should be lies into the lateral funiculus. So this one. So that is the corticospinal tract. Then the corticospinal tract, that is also called the pyramidal tract. Then the next one, that is the extrapyramidal tract. So extrapyramidal tract, that includes the ruberospinal tract. So here you can see this is the ruberospinal tract. Next it is the medial and lateral reticulospinal tract. So here the lateral reticulospinal tract, and this is the medial reticulospinal tract. Then the oliospinal tract, so this one, that is the oliospinal tract, and the vestibulospinal tract, this is the vestibulospinal tract, and last one, that is the tectospinal tract. So these are the extrapyramidal tract apart from that is the pyramidal tract. So let's see the important function which is done by the tracts. So first, that is the corticospinal tract. These are the anterior corticospinal, and that is the lateral corticospinal tract. So that is the axons of the pyramidal cells that laying into that the motor area of the cerebral cortex. That means from the 4, 6, 3, 1 and the 2. From here, that is the fibers, they are come. So here in this diagram you can see that is the fibers which is present into that the cerebral cortex, that should be comes. Okay? So these fibers, it should be comes into that the internal capsule. So here you can see that is the internal capsule at the lower end of the medulla oblongata, where in the medulla oblongata it should be forming 80% fibers of this, it should be forming that is the crossing. It is called the pyramidal decussation. So here you can see. So it should be form the lateral corticospinal tract. So here you can see that is the lateral corticospinal tract, that should be comes out. Here you can see on the right side of the spinal cord. So actually that should be comes out from the left side, and at the root of the medulla oblongata it should be turned on the right side, and from the right side fiber that should be turns on the left side. So here that is the pyramidal decussation that should be occur, and this pyramidal decussation, or that is called the decussation. And some fibers, that is the 20% fiber, it should be comes straight on the same side of the spinal cord. So that is called the anterior corticospinal tract. So here anterior corticospinal tract. So that should be the 20% fiber, that should be comes on this side. So they are not decussed. That is, then the functions. The cerebral cortex, it should be controls the voluntary movement of opposite half of the body through the anterior horn cell. Then the influence of this tract is supposed to be facilitatory for the flexors and inhibitory for the extensors. Then next to it, that is the ruberospinal tract. So it should be forming the tract of the red nucleus, which is situated into that the midbrain. You know, into the midbrain, that is the large nucleus is present, that is the red nucleus. So from this tract should be start. So the fibers crosses the fibers of the opposite side in the tegmentum of the midbrain and forming the ventral tegmental decussation, and this tract descends into the pons and the medulla and enters into the lateral white column of the spinal cord. So here, okay, and this tract, it should be controls, or it should be done the important function for, so it has inhibitory influence of the muscle tone. Then the next is the medial reticospinal tract and the lateral reticospinal tract. So this is the lateral reticospinal tract and the medial reticulospinal tract. This is the medial reticulospinal tract and the lateral reticospinal tract. So let's see the first, the medial reticulospinal tract. So it is formed by the fibers from the reticular formation into that the pons and descend into the cervical segment, and it has the in-cross fiber. So here, that cannot be crossing the fiber, but that consists of the uncross fiber. Then lateral reticulospinal tract. So the lateral reticulospinal tract, it originates from the reticular formation of the medulla oblongata and descends up to the thoracic segments of the spinal cord, and it has both crosses and uncrosses fiber. In the medial reticulospinal tract, we had seen that is there is uncrosses fiber, but into the lateral reticulospinal tract, that consists of both the crosses and the uncrosses fiber. Then the oliospinal tract, so this one. So the oliospinal tract, it originates from the inferior olivary nucleus into the medulla oblongata. Then it descends into the spinal cord and lie in the anterolateral column of the white matter. Then the next is the vestibulospinal tract. So this one, large tract. So the fibers arising from the lateral vestibular nucleus present into the pontomedullary junction. So you know the vestibular nucleus that should be present into that the pons and the medulla, at the junction of the pons and medulla, that is called the pontomedullary junction, and the fibers descend uncross into that the spinal cord. Then the next one is the tectospinal tract. So this one, tectospinal tract. So the axons of the neuron laying into the superior colliculus of the brain. The fibers crosses opposite side, forming the dorsal segmental decussation into that the midbrain. Then the tract descends through the pons and medulla and anterior white column of the spinal cord. So here, so all the descending tracts controls the voluntary movements of the skeletal muscles of the body through that the anterior horn cells. Then let's see, that is the descending tract. So let's see, that is the ascending tract. So here you can see the yellow color, that is the ascending tract. So the ascending tract, that is related, or that carry the impulses related with the touch, temperature, pain and the pressure. So out of this, on the anterior side, it should be carry the impulses of the touch and the pressure, and the posterior side, it should be carry the impulses of the temperature and the pain. So let's start the ascending tracts. So first, that is the lateral spino-ophthalmic tract and the anterior spino-ophthalmic tract. So here you can see, that is the lateral spino-ophthalmic tract and the anterior spino-ophthalmic tract. So these two tracts. So the lateral spino-ophthalmic tract. So it carries the sensation of pain and the temperature. Beginning from the substantia gelatinosa of the posterior gray column and terminates forms the spinal lemniscus into the medulla and reaches to the area that is the 312, which crosses to opposite sides in the same spinal segment. So that is the lateral spino-ophthalmic tract. Then the anterior spino-ophthalmic tract. So the fibers carries for the crude touch and the pressure, and it starts from the posterior gray column of the opposite side and terminates joins to the medial lemniscus in the brain stem and reaches to the ventral nucleus of the thalamus and ends into that the area 312 of the cerebral cortex. Then the fasciculus gracialis and the fasciculus cuneatus. So here that is the fasciculus gracialis. It is called the tract of Gohl. So it commences the caudal limit of the spinal cord, means that is the lower thoracic, lumbar, sacral and the coccyx region, and compose mainly the long ascending branches beginning from the dorsal root ganglia of the cells and terminates relay in the nucleus of the gracialis. You know that is the nucleus of the gracialis. Then it reaches to the posterolateral ventral nucleus of the thalamus and ends into the area of the 312 of the cerebral cortex. The function is the conscious proprioception and discriminatory touch and vibratory sense stereogenesis. So that is the function which is done by the fasciculus gracialis. After then we should have to see that is the fasciculus cuneatus. So this one, it is called the tract of Burdach. So it commences in the mid thoracic region, that is the upper thoracic and the cervical, and derives its fiber from the upper thoracic and the cervical segments beginning from the dorsal root ganglionic cells and terminate the relay in the nucleus of the gracialis. Then it reaches to the posterolateral ventral nucleus of the thalamus and relay ends into the area of 312 of the cerebral cortex. Then the function is discriminatory touch, vibratory sense stereogenesis. Then the next is the posterior spinocerebellar tract. So here the posterior spinocerebellar tract. So this tract begins from the thoracic nucleus of posterior gray column and terminate in the vermis of the cerebellum via inferior cerebellar peduncle, and it plays the function that is unconscious proprioception from the individual muscles of the lower limb. So that is the main function which is done by the posterior spinocerebellar tract. Then the anterior cerebellar tract. So here anterior spinocerebellar tract. So it begins from the posterior gray column of the same side. Then the 7 is spino-olivary tract. So the spino-olivary tract, so this one. So it begins from the posterior gray column and terminate in the dorsal and medial accessory olivary nucleus, and the function is that is the proprioceptive sense. And the last one, that is the spinotectal tract. So the spinotectal tract, it begins from the posterior gray column of the opposite side and terminates into that the tectum of the superior colliculus in the midbrain, and the function is that is the afferent limb reflexes movement of the eyes and heard towards the sense of the stimulation. So these are the ascending tract which is relay the sensory impulses related with the touch, temperature, pain and the pressure. the blood supply of the spinal cord. So spinal cord that is supplied by anterior spinal artery. So here you can see these are two vertebral arteries, and from anterior side, that is the one branch is coming out from both right and left vertebral arteries, and it should be joined to form, that is the anterior spinal artery. So this artery descends and enters into the anterior median fissure of the spinal cord, and it gives blood supply to the anterior and the lateral part of the spinal cord. Then the posterior spinal artery, that is just present posterior to that the anterior spinal artery. So it is the mirror image of the anterior spinal artery, and that should be enter into the posterior median sulcus, and in it supply to that the posterior part of the spinal cord. Apart from this, that is the segmental artery, that is also supply blood to that the spinal cord. Then clinical or the applied anatomy. So first clinical point, that is lesion to that the pyramidal tract. So you know this is the pyramidal tract that should be comes out from the internal capsule, and at the lower side of the medulla oblongata, the 80% fiber that should be crosses and goes to that the opposite side to form the pyramidal decussation. So the lesion of the pyramidal tract above the level of the decussation result in loss of voluntary movement in the opposite half of the body. The muscle tone is not actually paralyzed, but it control of the upper motor neuron and the lower motor neuron supplying to that the muscle are lost, and as a result the lower motor neuron becomes hyperactive and the tone of muscle is increases, leading to the spastic type of paralysis. So in this type, that is the spasm and the stiffness of the muscle that should be occur. So the lesion should be occur into that the right side. So the injury or the affected side is the opposite side, means that is on the left side. Then the next one, that is the damage of anterior spino-ophthalmic tract. So here in this diagram, you know this is the anterior spino-ophthalmic tract. It leads to loss of light touch and the pressure of the opposite side of the body below the level of the lesion. So that should be occurs the symptoms. Then the next one, that is the fibers of this tract, ascending tract, it carry the pain and temperature sensation. You know it, that is the pain fibers, it becomes very superficial in the lateral white column of the cord into that the cervical region. So here in this region, in the cervical region, that is the pain fibers, they should be very superficially and lateralmost side it should be present. So therefore the cordectomy can be performed safely at this level to reduce the pain into the opposite half of the body. So if that the pain fibers, it should be cut, so the pain sensation of the opposite side that cannot be happen, because that is the there is no roots to carry the pain sensation to that the cerebral cortex or the pain centers of the cerebral cortex. Then the next clinical point, that is the Tabes dorsalis. The involvement of the posterior white column and the posterior nerve root. So here that is the posterior white column and the posterior nerve root, that should be involvement into the syphilis disease. That is the degenerative changes should be occurs into that the posterior white column and the dorsal nerve root. So that type of degenerative changes occurs in the tertiary syphilis, that is called the Tabes dorsalis. So in this leads to loss of sense of the position, that is patient it is not able to tell the position or the movement of the lower lip unless he sees to them that the moment. Therefore whenever he asks to stand up with his feet together and eyes are closed, and the stagers, these person it is fall because he cannot maintain his correct position due to lack of proprioceptive information. So that is the important clinical symptom that should be occurs into the TEPS dorsalis, that should be occurs into the third stage of the syphilis, where the degenerative changes occur into the posterior white column and the dorsal nerve root. The next clinical point, that is the syringomyelia. So this one. So in this condition, a fluid cavity which develop near to the center of the spinal cord. So here in this region, usually it should be occurs into that the cervical segment, and this lead to that the destruction of the cord involving the central canal and that is the surrounding area. The lesion involving the decussating spino-ophthalmic fibers. So there is bilateral loss of pain and temperature below to that the lesion. So here loss of temperature and the pain in both bilateral side. So that is called the syringomyelia. Then next to it, Brown-Sequard syndrome. So here in this diagram you can see the Brown-Sequard syndrome, this one. The Brown-Sequard syndrome that should be caused due to that the hemisection of the spinal cord. So in this, the effect it should be occurs below to the level of the lesion. It should be occurs the ipsilateral upper motor neuron type of paralysis, that means the spastic type of paralysis below to the level of the hemisection. Then the contralateral loss of the pain and temperature sensation below to the level of the lesion, and at the level of the lesion ipsilateral lower motor neuron paralysis, and the ipsilateral anesthesia over the skin and ipsilateral hyperesthesia above the level of the lesion due to irritation of the dorsal nerve root. Last clinical point, that is the lateral compression or the compressive lesion. So the root or the segmental damage lead to the weakness in the groups of innervated by the involvement segment or the root with the lower neuron sign. And in addition, there is a sensory defect of all sensation, that is due to overlap from the adjacent segment, the loss of sensation may not be detected. So that is the root compression, that is from that is the vertebral foramen, that is the root of the spinal nerve, it should be comes out. So if the degenerative changes occurs into that the intervertebral disc, so that is the nerve root, it should be compression of the nerve root that should be occur, and because of that should be affected on the sensory and the motor function of that is the spinal nerve. So these are the clinical points related with that the spinal cord.